Okay, so now what we want to do is fetch this data we have created in our document onto our front end application. So if I go into my components, into card.tsx, so this component is what is getting rendered on the home page. So if I go into my return block, this div here is going to have a class name of card, and then within the card div, we're going to have a h2 for the title. So this will have h2 dot class name of title and tab. And the title is going to be all hotels, like so. And if I save, we are getting an error because we haven't put anything into our controller.ts file. So we will be doing soon. So if I just close this off, we can see the title is now getting rendered. So now what we want to do is on page load, we want to fetch our Firestore data in real time. So we will do that in a use effect. So if I do use effect, and in this use effect, we're going to have a callback of on snapshot. So this is a method called from Firebase. So on snapshot, and if I import this in, and on snapshot takes in two arguments. So the first argument is the collection that we want to access. So that is the hotels here. So what I want to do is define the hotels collection. So first argument is hotels collection. And this is what we will define in our controller.ts file. So if I go into my controller and remove what I have. So now in here, we want to declare the Firestore. So a const Firestore is equal to get Firestore. So this is a hook that we can call. So get Firestore. And now we want to pass in our app that we exported from our Firebase TS here. So we want to get the Firestore within this app here. So we just need to import that now. So import. So again, we are using tree shaking to get only the methods that we need. So in this case, we want to get Firestore from Firebase / Firestore, like so. And then we also need to import the app from our firebase.ts, so /Firebase here. And then this Firestore, we now need to get access to globally. So export this as well. So now we have access to our Firestore, which is our database here. We now want to declare our hotels collection. So put a comment in here, hotels collection. So that is this collection we have here. So we want to get access to every document within here for all our hotels. So all we do is export hotels collection, which is what we are going to call it, is equal to collection. So we import in that again from Firebase / Firestore. So we add that in. And what we want to pass in first is our Firestore as of the first argument, and then the path as the second. So we've defined the Firestore just above now, which is there, here. And then the second argument is the path that I want to access, which in this case is a string of hotels. So this is the one we want to access for the hotels collection. So now if I save and copy this and go into my card, we now should be able to import this from our lib controller. And I also want to import on snapshot from Firebase Firestore as well. So again, we are only getting what we are only using. So that's the first argument done. And then the second argument is a callback function. So in the callback function, we have access to something called a snapshot. So if I type in snapshot, and then we have an arrow function in here. So the first thing I want to do is console log the snapshot just to see if we're getting something back from this. So console log the snapshot. And now if I save and I go into my app here on the front end and I want to inspect the page in my console, we have here an XH of snapshot. We are getting a connection to our Firestore database. So what we want to do now is get access to the docs in here. And in the docs, we have access to a ID. This ID should end in RWA. So if I go into here, and as you can see on our database, we have the ID of this document ending in RWA. So now what we need to do is render that out and get access to the snapshot.doc.id. And we also want to get the data as well that we have in that document. So instead of console logging now, we want to access the snapshot.docs.map because we want to map over everything within the doc. So if we do the map in here, and for each doc that we have, we want to return. So return Actually, first of all, I'm going to console log the doc. What am I getting back in this doc here? So console log doc. Now if I save again, close this off and refresh the page, we are getting a doc back in here, which has the ID again. So we have narrowed it down further. So we also want to get the data as well. So that will be in the document data. And as you can see, all of my fields are here in an object. So all I want to do now is return, instead of a console log, return an object, and in this object I'm going to define a ID and spread all of the doc.data. So first one is going to be ID, which is equal to doc.id, like so. And then second of all, I'm going to get access to the doc.data, but we want to get access to all of the doc.data, which is all of these, so we want to spread them. So now if I save, we should be getting access to the doc.data. So now what I need to do is put it into some piece of state so we can access that and map the data onto the front end. So if I declare a variable here, so const, I'm going to name this hotels and set hotels, which is equal to useState, and this is going to be a useState of an array. So what we need to do is import useState from React, like so. And then I now need to set the hotels where we get the return here. So when I return my snapshot, I then want to set the hotels to this here. So if I just move this and copy it and paste it in the set hotels here, like so, and save. What I also want to do is console log what I get back as the hotels. Console log hotels, which is the state. So if I save, I also need to add a dependency array in, so it only loads the data once the component has mounted. So the dependency array here, take that out and save. We are now getting a TypeScript error, so we will address that in a moment. I just want to see if I am actually getting the hotels here. So as you can see, when the component mounts, we are getting access to the hotels in here, which is a good sign. So just to test that this is working in real time, I'm going to change the total price value from 500 to 600 in our backend. So in here, if I go to total price and click edit, I just want to click on here and change it to 600 and update. So that's updated here. If I go into my front end, we have now got a re-render. And if I check the total price in here, as you can see, we have 600 in here. So the onSnapshot method, it is a real-time listener, so that if we update data in the back end or in the front end, it always updates onto our Firestore database. So now if I hover over this error, what it's saying is, so because set hotels is a set state action, it is setting the state of the doc.data to an array, but because we are adding an object in there as well, so what I now need to do is create a type for this here. So the first thing I'm going to do is on snapshot, as you can see, TypeScript infers the type already for snapshot for the Firebase callback. So if I just copy this, the type is already getting inferred, but I'm just going to add it anyway so you can see what the type is. So the error is because we need to import these from Firebase. So query snapshot, I'm going to import from Firebase/Firestore and the document data. So if you hover over it, it does show the type here as well. So for the doc, we need to fix that one. And the way to fix it is in here, we could add types that this return could be. So in my source, I'm going to create a new folder in here named types. So this is where I'm going to put all of my TypeScript types for this project. And I'm just going to create a single file for this named hotel.ts. Okay, so the first hotel type, we are going to be expecting this as a structure. So this is what we're expecting to be set when we have the new hotel type. So if I copy this and I'm going to export this interface, so export interface as new hotel type. And this is the structure that it should have. So they're all strings basically. So the keys are defined here and then the values are all strings. So I'm just going to undo what I have and bring in the new hotel type here and paste it in. So they are the title, description, feature, location, stars, country, region, review, total price, per night, and ID. And they all have a question mark on there because at one moment in time they will be undefined, so they may not be there. So what we want to do is cover that with a undefined check. So the new hotel type is an object. Because we are receiving an array, all we need to do is import the new hotel type here. So new hotel type is an object that we are exporting in our types folder. So if I just import the new hotel type that we have just created, it's still causing an error because we need to close it off, and then we don't want this extra here. And then this is going to be an array containing objects like so. So now if I save, we are getting an error saying it's not a module, so I now need to save everything. So now as you can see, that has now fixed the error because we are saying that when we set the hotels, we are expecting the object or the array of objects to contain this in here. So if I was to comment out the ID, for example, you can see here that there will be an error and it's saying ID string has no properties in common with type new hotel types. It's basically saying that the ID is not contained in our type that we have defined. So all I do is Control Z that and then the error goes away. So that is just a quick way to fix the error handling for TypeScript. So now all I need to do is map this hotel's data onto the front end. So we now have a use effect collecting all the hotel's data here. So now we want to do some JavaScript in here. So the way to add JavaScript into our JSX is if we add curly brackets like so. So the first check we want to do is to see if hotels is there. So hotels and hotels.length. So we want to check if this array has a length in there, so it at least has one object as opposed to an empty array because we can't map over something that isn't there. So hotels.length, if that is true, so we put the question mark like so, we want to return a div. In this div, we want to map over the hotels. So hotels question mark, which is optional chaining, is an extra check in there to see if we have any hotels. Then we want to map over. So hotels.map, and for each hotel that we get back, I want to implicitly return. So the way to implicitly return is to just have your parentheses like so and press enter. So now we are returning whatever is being received in hotel. And in hotel, we want to create a new component called information. So information, and the props we want to pass into information is the hotel is equal to hotel. So to give you an idea of what the information component is, it is basically is this component here. So we want to create the UI for this next.